And we are live. We'll wait for a few people to come in, but UVA St. John's. Fresh, where are you?
I'm here.
Fresh, we're live.
I know. I have to get in my Hall of Fame gear. It's for the Hall of Fame.
Oh,
tournament,
wow.
right?
Hall of Fame tournament. Let's go. The gear. You got the official gear on.
It's early Christmas for Fresh. Thank you. Who sent it? And we're fired up. So I wear it well, I think, in my mind at least.
All right, so we got pretty intense matchup tonight. St. John's, our good friend. We think it's Louisville, basically, which we're usually not scared of. But we've got St. John's and Rick Pitino coming off that overtime thriller they had against Baylor, which they had won, by the way. They should have won. Missed 2 free throws. Guy hits a crazy 3. They win. I mean, they came back from down 7? Baylor did to win in the last minute. That's impressive. But here we are. We're playing what looks like a really good St. John's team. They pressure, they trap, and we came off what looked like a pretty – I mean, we all logged off after the game. We didn't do our post-game show. Apologies to those that were waiting for it.
I don't think anybody was awake. What time the game was over? At like 1 a.m.
Yeah, it was past everybody's
That was like going to a basketball rave. And
that's right.
You're getting out.
I mean, it was late for West Coast.
Time to get up to go fishing when that thing ended.
Yeah, seriously, that was wild. So what are we expecting today? What have you learned about St. John's?
So look, I think I said it last night. I don't know if you caught it, but we've been very used to going into anyone we play with I think what we feel and what the world would feel was a major coaching advantage. Last night, we're up against a guy that got nominated for the Hall of Fame in 2023, Rick Barnes, and we went through some of his accolades. And that's not a diss, and I said this last night. It's not a diss to Ron. It's just that guy's been, National Coach of the Year. He was 4-time Big 12 Coach of the Year. He's been there, done that, and now we're playing against a guy who is in the Hall of Fame, and he's trying to become the first person ever to take 6 different teams to the NCAA, which is like wild if you think about that. I mean, think about Tony's great career, and maybe he had two teams made the NCAA. So do I think coaches dictate, how the players play, and is that like a monster advantage, like having a great player? No, but it is something that you have to take into account. And there's some film on us now of us really struggling, and I think in some areas, and we'll get into that. But I think Rick Pitino, being the veteran he is going to focus on those things and make it really hard for us tonight.
Yeah, so my brother was at the game last night, and he said the Tennessee team reminded him of one of the old Virginia teams, which is like tough on D, pretty athletic, raw. Not great offensively, but got it done. So he thought it was just interesting to see basically us going against ourselves in a way. But they had much better.
For sure.
They just had better talent at the end.
Nothing outside of Igor really impressed me by Tennessee last night. I think we were down by 5 or so.
Well, that one guy had 26, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about that. He must have got them all late because I wasn't overly impressed. But what they did do was the Virginia, to your brother's point, is they beat us up, and we had guys cramping, we had issues, we looked dead tired. IMAC didn't look tired. He shot the ball into the roof of the stadium, which I think is awesome.
We had a ton
they were just tougher. In the last 10 minutes, it was just good night. They had a Vol avalanche on us, so to speak, and I feel like this team got tired out. And so that's why it's, people think that St. John's is going to be tired tonight because of a double overtime game. I don't know. I think it might be the other way around. I don't like the excuse of I don't understand how you get tired in college unless it's a 5 overtime scenario.
Well, I think there's an argument you could make, Fresh, that at the end of the year, going through your conference tournament and then playing a Thursday, Saturday game, like at the end of the year, you might get tired. They just started up.
That's
Everybody, if you're not hurt right now, you should be feeling really good about your body. Yeah, your legs might feel a little dead. You drink a Gatorade and you go play. And we've said this before on this podcast where, in the summers you play 3 to 5 hours and you're not going as hard as you do in an NCAA game. But this is too early in the season for people to really have truly dead legs, in my opinion.
I mean, Saunders, they said, ended up having cramps, and then people were slipping on the floor both games. So I don't know if it's just really humid and hot in there or what's going on, but yeah, but everyone's
the floor slipping thing. I don't like when you send players, the amateur or professional, high school, junior high, NBA. I don't like when you send them into these situations because things can happen, right?
Right.
And I don't care about what part of the year it is, but you're going to do something. There's money to be made, I'm sure. But come on, the Bahamas has got to be able to provide a better place, right? If this is all true, and your brother would know better, and people that are down there to see moisture on the floor and that type of thing, it's 2024, enough.
Yeah, there's no ice hockey under it. I think it's just humid. Right. I think the only real spill we had was what TJ Powers running baseline. He had a pretty bad spill out of nowhere. Other than that, I think the first game had a lot more. But maybe, I don't know. Hopefully it's fixed.
I mean, these are the things that happen to have in the office when he goes to the printer. He just wipes out of nowhere. And I do it walking to work when the floor is wet and it's rainy a little bit. I just fall down. So
the cramping thing, and I think John Shire brought this to national attention when Duke was cramping. In an age where we have uniforms that wick moisture away from your body, and when you have supplements and pills and pregame meals that are awesome, maybe that doesn't work, but it's just eat a banana. If you're cramping, right before you play, eat a banana. It's not going to affect you, but I'm not saying bad, Elijah or Saunders did anything bad or Duke did, but come on, I'm trying to think if we had anybody have to come out because of cramps, maybe in an overtime game at Georgia Tech or Florida State when it was hot in, early March. But Fresh, do you remember any of that? I don't.
Cramps? Not one time. I don't think, Brian Stith lost his teeth in a game against Providence his first year, and he took his tooth and gave it to Ethan and said, "Don't tell anybody." That's how it was then. I feel like football, a lot of soccer, you get cramps, right? When you see them and you hold the foot back and all that. You don't see it in basketball, but I don't think we're the only team. I think it's been a little bit of a weird thing this season where players have been cramping, and maybe there's something in the air, global warming, climate change, or something. Players cramp.
Dr. Dragon said, cramping is all hydration. Check their water levels. I don't know what tests you run to check people's water levels, but they need to do that.
I know a lot of athletes take creatine now, which was something we didn't have when we grew up, and I know that induces cramping. I've seen that at the high school level, certainly with football and baseball players, but
I think a lot of muscle building stuff takes water away from you, right? As opposed to giving to you, so you lose the water weight and you get.
Is that what it is?
All that.
I mean, I'm cramping right now, but I'm relaxed. I'm letting it take hold and I'm enjoying the ride.
Maybe it's a carbohydrate thing. They don't want to eat bananas because of the sugar in the carbs. So
I don't know. I drink 1,000 bottles of water a day. So I think the solution, and it's not for college kids that are underage, but you probably need to drink more beer. It keeps you hydrated. You never cramp.
Oh, Bill from Connecticut. I'm here for my LRA therapy session from last night. Strong bounce back tonight will help ease. Yeah, I agree. We're hoping, although I'm not sure it's going to be an easy game for us to feel relaxed. I think it's going to be a really tough one. the added pressure that St. John's plays with Day and Rhodey in the backcourt. We'll see how they handle that. I guess they had Georgetown.
Yeah, and people are forgetting, like, Rick Pitino was really the first coach that figured out, and I don't know if this speaks highly to the coaching profession, but he was the first guy to figure out back in the day at Kentucky, and then with the Celtics too, when he became a pro coach, that 3 points are worth more than two. He was the first guy that started really shooting 3-pointers. And I think that's important to note. Not that this is a great 3-point shooting team. Before that, his other kind of coaching philosophy and his shtick was just pressure. And if anything has bothered us this year, and it was really evident last night, pressure on the ball, just getting the ball over half court to set up and initiate your offense. Like, we really struggled with that. The shot clock was, halfway gone, and we're starting to get into it. I think that's going to be a big point of emphasis tonight. And the reality is, we don't really have, outside of Day, we don't really have the personnel to combat that.
Yeah, it's frustrating to watch them sort of play, hot potato with it in the backcourt. They set up the offense. A lot of passing back and forth. Go ahead, Fresh.
I'm not sure if I said this last night, but I've noticed Virginia through the years, we focus so much on defense and we play such great defense. When the other team scores, I see a deflation of sorts in the players. The collective, head down, did everything we could. They scored on us. Ted Jeffries can put on a clinic, and I'll give you a quick story. TJ, other team scored. Dennis Scott hit a 3, right? Dennis Scott. Kenny Anderson, let's go on to the names. TJ got the ball out as quick as he could and rammed it back the other way down our throats. Coach Bray, who was at Notre Dame, right? He scouted us as a Duke assistant. And he coached TJ in high school at DeMatha. And he said to TJ, Duke University, like 2-time champion those years, we prepared for the way you brought the ball out of the basket and got your team going down court. Other team scores, that's great. We have the ball back now. Let's go, right? Don't put your head down. Oh, here, you take it out. I'll take it out. You take it out. Give it back to me. Let them set. You gotta have somebody to grab it and go. So let's watch for that.
It's a subtle skill. It's a subtle skill, and you're right. And TJ was great at it. The difference was he was throwing it to Crotty and Corey and you, which is different. And philosophically, I think it's been hard for us to adjust. There's been a lot of talk about, the new offense. And I watched the game last night and, was sort of reflecting on it. Yes, I don't know if we have a new offense. What I think we have is we have a new system where people set up for the offense, but we're still not running at all. Like, we're not running opportunistically and pace and all that. If you want to get into the stats, it's pretty much the same. Number two is we're not getting any kind of post play, throw it in, jump hooks. And I know Saunders took a couple and Blake makes some now and then, but we're a jump shooting team, too many threes. And then the third point I'd make is offensive rebounding, because we're so focused on defense, everyone runs back. Like, we have a horrible, if you look at our opponents, and I don't care if we go back to Campbell and who else did we play? These lower teams. Yeah, like they send some guys. You can still get back on D and send another guy in there. Like, we get killed on the offensive boards and we provide almost no offensive rebounding. So my premise is, yes, we have a new offense where people start the play, but it ends up with kind of the same shot. And we're not supplementing that. A new offense in my mind would be we'd run a little bit more. We're never going to be like UNLV or Duke or UNC that plays fast. let's get some buckets down low, and let's offensive rebound. If we could add like 12, 10, 12, maybe 15 points a game, all of a sudden, instead of scoring 42 points in a game like we did last night, we're at like almost 70. And we're playing a team tonight, by the way. Let's just go through this. Here's what they've scored. And granted, they played Fordham, Quinnipiac, Wagner, New Mexico, and Baylor. They're 4-1, just like us. They've scored 92, 96, 66, 85, and 99. So, like, they're being opportunistic. They're offensive rebounding. They're running occasionally. They're getting some easy buckets. That's where I think when we talk about new offense, where we're missing. I don't care where we set up and if we run a new play. The absence of those things makes it really hard for us to generate points, as evidenced by the 42 we put up last night.
Yeah. It looks like the philosophy is still, let's slow the game down, have less possessions, smaller margin for error, but that seems to be what's happening. That's the old.
But that's like I think Hav's making the point. When's the last time we scored 90 points in a game, in a regulation game, right?
It's been a while.
And you do that by expanding, not by contracting. If we're constantly contracting the game, like less possessions, we have a better chance to win that way. The game is expanded. Dudes are shooting threes. I thought their best player last night was a University of Virginia player, Igor. I thought he was great in the meat of the game. Other guy, I guess, went off later, the whole thing. But think about that. We lose guys and these things. And, it's do you want to play and you look up in the end of the game, the whistle blows, the horn blows, and we have 42. Like when you score 90, how much fun is that, Have?
Yeah,
they took. You come in and do a reverse layup, and now we have 88 points. That's a fun game.
It is. They've scored over 90 in 3 of their 5 games.
Yep.
Last night I think we had 17 less shots than Tennessee. So, yes, we have new plays, but new plays doesn't mean we have a new offense. A new offense would be, we can have like different schemes and we start a guy. And I think it really comes down to like what I think Virginia looks at what a good shot is versus a bad shot, like we did fresh back in the day. And the elite teams in the country are looking at a good shot. If you get an open look off of one pass early in the shot clock from a foot behind the 3-point line, you got to let it go. That's a bad shot. That gets you taken out under Tony. Ron lets you play through it, but definitely when we were growing up, like you had to remember the whole thing. You got to make 5 or 6 passes before someone shoots. I just think that's changed, and I think we have new plays. I don't think we have a new offense.
Well, I think when you went through St. John's, 66, 90, 80, that shows what? That shows their ability to play different ways, right? We can play one way, it seems to me. Low scoring. When it's a big-time scoring affair, when's the last time, TW? That Towson game when Trey and Sam were on the team and we were like, oh, we run now. Or the Las Vegas tournament, we played Baylor and I forgot who else, and you were there. And we were like, whoa, our guys are basketball players and they're really skilled, and Reese is a pro and Trey Murphy's a pro, and that's fun. But it's something holds us back from being able to adjust to the higher scoring games, right? And we played games in the 60s and maybe 50s at times. We also played games in the 90s and 80s. Points, I'm saying. And whatever players adjust, and the coaches can't, constrict that, I think.
I want to read this again. In their 5 games, they've scored 92, 96, 66, 85, and 99. So they haven't scored in the 70s. They've scored in the 80s once, 3 times in the 90s, and once in the 60s. Like that is a new offense. And I don't think we can get there like as given the circumstances, but I'll switch topics, and I want to ask T-Dub this because he's our resident historian who's seen a lot of basketball. And I would not have answered. I have my answer, but I'll ask both you guys. Who do you think is this, like, so far we're 5 games in, who is like our most important player right now on our team? And I would not have guessed this name before Tony retired. I would not have guessed this name after Tony retired. So, like, that's the question. Who do you think is like our most critical player right now?
For me, I'm gonna say Saunders. What about you, Fresh?
Well, I think
gotta
Hav's done like formulas. He's used the quadratic equation.
Yeah.
He's figured out these different mathematical.
No, mine's simple. Mine's simple.
Mine is Dave.
Why do you like Saunders, T-Dub?
Oh, sorry.
I mean, from what I've seen, he can do a little bit of everything in terms of on the offensive end, scoring. He could drive. He can hit open shots, post up. He's I think the glue to this thing. If he can get it going, he can open up a lot of areas
I don't
for
disagree.
everyone else. That's what I think. But
He can initiate offense even. We've seen that.
And this, by the way, this is not a trick question, and I don't have data to back it up. This is just a feeling.
Okay.
So
Yeah, my answer is Day Ames. I think you got to have a point guard. I mean, we lived with it. London, Malcolm, Ty, Kihei, Reese. At least we had a point guard. Now we're sort of point guard without a point guard now, right? So Day I think is the most important guy.
all right, good answer, Fresh, because that's mine too. And
I hate when we agree. Damn it!
I think Day's our most important guy because if I was playing against us and I watched film of last night's game or any of our games, because this last night wasn't a revelation. It was just, I think, proof. And the biggest thing we struggle with is on-ball pressure, right? And IMAC's a great shooter, and he knocked some down against Villanova, but him going right and elevating and kicking his leg out and take it, that's not sustainable. He's going to get hot sometimes, and he'd check it and all that. The ability to get the ball over half court without too much friction is a major thing. And last night, what I saw, with the exception of Day when he wasn't in, was, man, we're down to 15 seconds on the clock before guys really like get into the set. So, it's a combination of, I think, what Day does well, he can do that. And also Worley leaving and Bliss not being available. But man, if we can't get into our sets before like 15, with only, if we're getting into our sets with 15 to 17 seconds on the clock, it doesn't matter what offense we have, what new plays we have. We have to be able to get the ball over the court quickly, efficiently, without too much effort. Rhodey can get it done. It's just very taxing on him. And that's why you see him looking like, like an old guy going to the grocery store looking for, chicken thighs. Like he's just gassed by the time he gets to the deli or the meat.
That hits hard, Ab. I'm about to go do that myself. So, and I'll look that way. But like we talked, I don't know how everyone is so tired. I don't get it. It's not a crazy pace. It's not this. It's not that. I'm not sure, but yeah, I think Day too. And I think Day's got it. And I think he's the guy. I'm guessing. I don't know him. Blah blah blah. But he's the guy that can put his imprint on this team, right? Like, all right, it's my team. I'm the point guard. Don't be nice. Don't pass. Don't be a secondary. What's it called? Secondary facilitator. And he had some bad turnovers last night. Don't get me wrong. He gets himself in trouble. But if he could just let himself go a little more, and the left-hander is always a little trickier. So, but yeah, I think he's the most important guy at this point.
Meaning you want him to step up and be the distributor and pace maker?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. And he's not incredibly fast or quick, by the way, but he's a strong kid. It looks like, right? And you saw him in high school dunking and like put your imprint on the game. I think London Parentes really put his print on the game as a freshman,
Yes.
right? TW, you know better than us.
Yes, for
Like guys like that, he really, he molded the team.
And Ty.
I mean, Ty for sure. That's another story, right? But yeah, put your when you're John Crotty, it was his team as a point guard, right, Cav?
Yeah.
Corey Alexander, same way. Guys took the ball and looked for Corey. I'm wide open. I get it, but it makes sense. That's the way the hierarchy works as a point guard. So, and the ACC, man, we've said it. To be a lead point guard in the ACC, you better be really good. It's a real thing, and it still is. As much as I think the ACC has fallen off, doesn't matter, but it's a big deal. Sorry,
well,
diatribe.
All right, I have a follow-up. I have a follow-up question, and to both of you, T-Dub, we're 5 games in right now. One thing you love about what you've seen, and one thing you don't like about what you've seen. 5 games in, subject to change. We're talking about 5 games, not where it could go.
5 games in, I know, shockingly, the defense is better than I expected. I thought people last night we would have, had to worry about the other team scoring 100. So I thought the defense good, especially in that first half. We held them. Second half, honestly, we played fairly well on defense. I thought it looks better than expected, I would say. I was kind of worried about it. It looks like offensively we have a lot of work, but defensively better than expected. And on the offensive end is where there's a lot more to be desired, I should say. We still don't have a playmaker. That's my biggest thing. That's why I like Saunders. He's the one guy that can kind of throw the ball and he can make something happen. He can create. I don't see many other guys that can do that. We haven't had really many the last 4 or 5 years that you could just end of the shot clock, give it to them. They'll go get a bucket. It's tend to be system generated points. So that's my 2.
All right, fresh. One thing you love, one thing you hate.
I love Ron Sanchez. I love Jason Williford, and I love the way they've let players play.
So freedom.
I think there's more freedom. I like the rotations. You put Eshan in. You put you let Coffee cook when he's cooking. You play small, not because you're strategically playing small. It's because the guy's playing good. Coffee's bad on defense. He's great on offense. Stay with him. I like that a lot. What don't I like? I don't like when the other team scores and we hang our heads and we don't get the ball to the basket quickly and we don't just say, let's go, it's part of the game, and let's go attack them. That's what I don't like. And I've seen it a lot.
How about you, Have? I want to hear your answer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I would say the freedom / Ron's willingness to let guys play through some things. I really like that. I think, a guy comes in and he's coming cold off the bench. It's something near and dear to my heart. You're not at the same level when you get into a situation like that. So I like that because it takes 2 or 3 trips up the floor to get your heart going, and then recover. So I really like that. What I don't like is what I will call, and this will probably get people mad, but we were lucky when Doug and I played that we had some guys that were that had a real FU toughness about them, and it was from Crotty and Kenny Turner early on in our career to Ted Jeffries. I don't see anybody that gets really pissed off and is a MFer in the game. I see skilled players. I see some guys who can shoot but I want to see someone. The only one that is playing right now that I think has the opportunity to have a little bit of FU in him is Day Day. And that's right. Probably from his environment growing up, in Chicago and playing against tough teams and all that.
He's talked about He talked about his brothers, I think, and his family, and he's like, you got to be like this, like to compete.
Yeah. Like there's no, I mean, and Brian Stith, I mean, Brian was as tough as they come. And he didn't do it by whooping in your face. He did it by like, you know, catching it that mid post, elevating, scoring, and just like looking at you. And I don't, you know, Ty had that, right? More if we go to like a more modern lens, Ty definitely had that. Like I don't see anybody that has that. And when, you know, here's the other one that I used to say back in the day. That's why I always liked him as a guy off the bench was Poppy. Poppy didn't care if he broke your nose and your jaw getting a rebound.
He didn't care if he broke his own, by the way.
Right.
Anything that was shaped like this, he would grab. It was a basketball. It could be your head, could be his own head, could be, you know, whatever. And he would just grab it. That was 100%.
And I think it's easy to, you know, it's different than swagger. Like, you know, when IMAC was on fire against Villanova and hitting those, like,
yeah,
you know, the hardest shot is a deep shot going right if you're a righty, because you're kind of going away from it and you've got to square up. And he was making it and getting on the floor and, like, you know, when things are going well. But I want someone to get a rebound and pop someone in the neck and be like, get off me. And I don't see – I think we play hard. That's different than having a really tough guy who can set the tone, who says, you know what, it's a really important stretch right now for the next 3 minutes, and we have to be at our best. And if you have to, you know, if you have to get into somebody a little bit, like, let's do it. I that's one thing I don't like. We're being too gentlemanly. All
right, game's about to start. Projections?
Yeah, predictions.
Okay, I'll go. So I still think I think we'll hit the ceiling one time. Actually hit the ceiling, like not the proverbial ceiling. We're going to actually hit the ceiling on a shot.
The real ceiling.
I think we're going to struggle against this team. They've got the wing army. They're good. They're tougher than we are, and I think we lose. I think we're going to lose 62-51.
What was it? 62-51?
62-51.
Fresh.
Yeah, first time in a long time, I don't feel good about this game. I've seen St. John's, you know, me and Tyreek Turner, shout out Charlottesville legend. He's taken me to a couple of games and watched them. St. John's goes. They don't slow down. They play, and if we don't match that and figure that out, it's going to be a problem. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be like a 75-60 affair, and I'm first time ever saying I don't think we win.
Really? All right, I gotta go.
I don't see a path to us winning tonight. No.
Really? All right. I'll go against the grain. I think we pull out a nail biter. Nail biter, a low-scoring affair. We've got a record against Patino. Let's see if we can hold that true tonight. I say 55-50. Virginia pulls a ugly game.
Let's hope TW is right.
Game on.
All right, we're coming back at halftime, guys. We're on at halftime tonight. Sorry, last night it was late and it was ugly in the whole thing.
Go Who's, baby. Let's go. Let's get one.
Yeah, good try, WFS. 53-27. You can go to bed early tonight.